Welcome to another Quantum DemandCast. Today's topic is deploying StorNext 5 workflows. I'm Skip Levins, joined here with Alex Grossman.
Oh, Mr. Skip Levins, so glad to be here with you today.
Talk about right in our wheelhouse, StorNext 5.
I think we wrote the title, so I think it's pretty easy for us to guarantee that.
Absolutely.
But it's about time, right? StorNext 5 is available. It's
Absolutely.
out there in the market. It's what can we say about it? 2-year development, ground-up effort, brand new, takes the most popular and the highest market share open storage collaboration platform and takes it to a new level, right?
I think it's a complete game changer for, let's face it, StorNext 5 has been the collaborative way that people share and work on some of the hardest and most difficult problems there are and deliver some amazing content, especially in media and entertainment. And this literally takes it to a whole new dimension.
Well, yeah, when you take nearly 100 engineers, you stick them in a room for 2.5 years, you pretty much, with a lot of great customer input, you come up with a great product, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to talk about StorNext 5 and how to deploy it, but I think we want to ask someone else how they are deploying StorNext appliances, storage, and how they're taking modern workflows to the next state.
Absolutely.
Who do we have to talk about there?
So to join us for this topic, we're joined today by Nick Gold, who is the Director of Business Development at Chesapeake Systems. And Chesapeake Systems is someone that I believe you've known for a while. So hello, hey. Nick. Welcome.
Nick, how are you?
Hi, very well, gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So Chesapeake Systems, I have to admit, I've known Chesapeake Systems for a while. I've watched the work you guys have done. You've come up, you work with some of the top broadcasters, post facilities on the East Coast. You guys have really had a unique approach at workflow. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about the business and about modern workflows and how you guys have deployed StorNext.
Well, both of us were in a very different point 10 years ago when we were first getting introduced and
Absolutely.
We were getting our hands kind of dirty in kind of the relatively new world of work group level storage area networking for smaller video post-production operations. And when I joined the organization 10 years ago, we really had a bent that was very oriented around the Apple ecosystem and the Final Cut platform. And over the last decade, we've gone on to not only kind of geographically expand our operations, so now we cover a lot of the Mid-Atlantic, but up into the New York City market as well. And, work, yes, still with many smaller and mid-sized work groups, but also some of the largest international broadcasters and news gathering operations out there right here in the heart of Manhattan.
So what has been the success that you guys, what drove you there? I've seen your deployments, they're beautiful. I've seen how, we work with a lot of common customers and they just say, we love Chesapeake. So why? What's different about you guys?
So, one of the things that's interesting about our staff, which has just grown and is basically populated with very long-term employees throughout, we all love being there. It's a very tight-knit group. It's kind of like a family in many ways. And a lot of us come from creative backgrounds. And in fact, our motto is creative IT for the creative professional. We've always had the bent of the IT side of the video post-production and broadcast world. But given that we all have had creative leanings ourselves, we kind of know how creatives think. And so I think that makes us able to solve the problems in an interesting way beyond a more maybe traditional IT-focused or broadcast integrator-focused operation. But we also have an inherent creative approach to solving the problems we encounter in post and broadcast. And so I think that dynamic of being populated with creatives, thinking creatively, enjoying the IT side of it, and having a creative approach to solving these challenges is what really endears us to our clients.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Let's look back a little bit and say, in a broadcast engineering environment, it was usually, a lot of hard boxes, right? People had boxes they installed. These were broadcast-only boxes. The things we used to call play-out engines in the old days, right? We had a box for everything. Everybody knew the hardware. We're over there soldering cables for many years, right? Building these beautiful deployments. You had that of the IT for broadcast. Then you had this traditional computer IT, what we used to call the enterprise data center IT. And they really understood how to lower it to the bottom dollar, how to have this integration. And it was all about IOs per second and how you'd support financial institutions. And when it came down to the specialized performance requirements of media entertainment, they just didn't get it, right? They couldn't do it. And you couldn't take those broadcast guys for the most part and teach them how to be in a normal computer environment. Couldn't take those IT guys and put them into broadcast and post. So someone had to be in the middle to pick the best of breed solutions, right? And at the time, we were looking at Apple XSAN, we were looking at, of course, StorNext, and Final Cut and all the tools that were there. And these were different kind of IT tools with different challenges, right? That's where you guys cut your teeth. But the workflow's changed. It's gotten more modern. It's gotten more complex. And so now, we've been very fortunate at Quantum. We're able to build an entire end-to-end workflow. So how have you guys been managing those challenges, and what are your customers seeing? What are they doing? And can they deploy a StorNext 5 end-to-end workflow?
Well, obviously they can. We're doing it, and it's working fabulously. We've been huge fans of StorNext for many, many years. And, it's interesting. As you said, it was basically a series of black boxes connected with some, cable, basically, passing signals with your inputs and your outputs, maybe a few settings to change. And it was kind of like plumbing. And what's happened and is still happening is organizations like ourselves and our clients have had to jump inside of the boxes because they are all complex pieces of IT equipment at this point. And they're all relevant and they can all have a major impact. And just the level of complexity and sophistication, as you said, of the solutions has exponentially increased and continues to. 10 years ago, we had customers commonly, even 5 years ago, 3 years ago, dealing with a lot of baseband signals in and out of their machines.
Right.
And, the IT systems.
And digital wasn't all digital, was it?
Exactly. And now it's like most of the systems that our clients use, don't even pump video signals in and out of them now. It's just files. Data originates as files. It gets manipulated as files. And obviously, with over-the-top video broadcasting being how a huge and growing amount of the population consumes content, it's files across the internet and files to their devices of dozens, if not hundreds and hundreds of varieties and delivery platforms. So, it's been an incremental process, right? And thankfully, it doesn't all happen at once. And you do have to look at it as a set of solutions that have, connections amongst themselves, much like a kind of a traditional networking stack. You have these different layers of the post-production solutions that we deal with. And StorNext and StorNext 5 are a very fundamental foundational piece that, it's funny. I often joke, we build really fancy hard drive icons on your desktop. But,
how true.
Right? But it needs to be like absolutely robust no matter what, because you may have live broadcast operations, you may have quick turnaround times that absolutely rely on the performance, the scalability, not having to hit artificial walls. Organizations are having to scale constantly now. And so, StorNext is at